Welcome back to DNF. I'm Jessica Santana. He's Spencer Hall. Willow is sleeping next to me on the floor of the studio. And today we're celebrating another big win for Ferrari, but most importantly, for Carlos. Spencer, what a weekend for Carlos.
What a weekend for Carlos Sainz, making the most of his Ferrari farewell tour. Also doing what we have been talking about for now 2 weeks, which is taking advantage of other people's mess. Congratulations, Carlos. I love the fact that both you and Charles managed to benefit from the chaos between McLaren and Red Bull and just sliding in and finishing the season not only on a strong note, but potentially in competition for the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, we're going to get to all things Max and Lando because obviously that was the big moment of the race, I think, was what are the stewards going to do this time? Like, this keeps happening. But first, I want to talk about Carlos because, like you said, Spencer, Ferrari farewell tour. This is the first time he's ever won 2 races in one season. And he had a great race. The car was really fast. They were extremely quick. He was amazing in qualifying. He had like 2 qualifying laps that put him on pole. Like, he just had a great Saturday, a great Sunday. And what I loved the most about Carlos's wholesome win in Mexico City was his post-race interview. So we're going to play a little clip from that, and it'll warm your heart.
Of Mexico, you are the real... Let us know how did I'm going to talk about the overtaking later on, but first, what is the feeling to be inside here with all those fans? You can also answer in Spanish if you want.
Gracias, México. Yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible to see this crowd. I've been feeling their support all week. I feel like I have a lot of fan base here in Mexico, and they've gave me, a lot of strength to do the weekend that I've done. Honestly, I really wanted this one. I really needed it also for myself. I wanted to get it done. I've been saying for a while I wanted one more win before leaving Ferrari, and to do it here in front of this mega crowd is incredible. Now 4 races left. I want to enjoy as much as possible, and if another one comes, I will go for it.
You did such an amazing overtaking
Carlos,
on Max.
So sweet.
Tell us, how did you prepare that overtaking? How confident were you that you could succeed on it?
I didn't prepare it, to be honest. I was just a bit annoyed at the start and having lost position to him. And I said I need to surprise him one way or another because Max is super difficult to pass. He's proven it many, many times. And I was a bit far back, but I said I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to send one down the inside. And I've been very confident under breaking into turn 1 this weekend, and I knew I could make it.
It warmed my heart, Spencer. It also, man, he's going to be driving for Williams next year. And now I'm kind of sad. That's so sad.
It is extremely sad. It feels like, given his age and experience, that barring a trip back from Williams to a program that's actually going to be competitive, that this is the best window he's got for wins and for maybe even podiums, unless Williams is on some sort of 3-year plan where we're all going to be stunned by what happens. And who knows? James Vowles, surprise us, please. Would love to see it. However, I'm glad he's having it. Like, this is very much I want to go ahead and beat everyone to the punch and just say, let's smile because this is happening. It's very cool that this is how Carlos goes out. A really likable presence, an extremely talented driver. I think a lot of people who know what they're talking about with Formula One consistently have him in their top 5 in any car list, which is why I wouldn't entirely write him out of competition for Williams, right? Like, I think if anybody can get Williams consistent points, Carlos Sainz is right there. But like a top 3, top 5 driver, for most people you ask, a really charismatic presence. Even if he's going to have to, Jessica, we're going to talk about this. Things that are also ending for Carlos, his hairline. He's got
what?
He doesn't have to come home yet, but like, he's not Pierre Gasly yet. Okay.
Stop it. I rebuke this.
He's got just a little, he's got a little patch. Okay. And it's going to happen.
I mean, it's fine. Like, it's fine if I'm not judging, but he's 30, which is maybe middle-aged in driver years, extremely young if you're a female podcaster. But Yeah, sometimes people's hair
Enough
starts
a
to thin
standard we
around
have just a standard we have pulled for no particular reason.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
This is a very much like don't cry because it's over, smile because it
Mhm.
happened situation with Carlos. But yeah, I mean, like there's obviously a chance that we know he's a great driver, that he brings some glory to Williams, but the
Mhm.
Ferrari right now looks like it is the best car. It's even been faster than McLaren over the last couple weekends. So
Yeah.
huge, like just let down, I guess, bummer to go from that to a car that is doing honestly like not terrible this year. Better than one team that still has 0 points, but still not like a championship contender.
Yeah, we're talking about Carlos. Maybe because of their absolute value, right? When I say absolute value, I mean maybe that was the best car on the track. But you know that when you have 20 cars on a track, everything is relative. And by that I mean we need to talk about the cars that allowed all of this to happen by dueling with each other. We are in week 2 of Max Lando Rollerball. We are
Yeah.
in week 2 of Max and Lando's brawl to the finish. Jessica, I have a question for you.
Mm,
Do you believe in
yes.
makeup calls in Formula One?
I certainly believe in them in like every other sport, so I feel
Mhm.
like that's certainly at play here with the stewards having a, I think, appropriate reaction to what Max did, but making sure that that reaction was felt
Mhm.
to make up maybe for what different stewards did last weekend. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
I think that's fair. And it's odd to I think expect the same reaction from the same group across both races. But I do believe that the 2 10-second penalties levied against Max Verstappen for I'm going to help Max Verstappen followers out. Levied for maintaining his racing line. How's that? I'll put it politically. I'll put it neatly. For maintaining his racing line. And in the course of doing that, running Lando Norris off the track. Lando also received a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining the advantage, even though he was forced to do that by Max. I think that's very much a parenting tactic, right? When you say, well, you're grounded for a week. Well, he started it. Well, you're grounded for 2 days. It was the inciting versus the secondary violation, right? In flagging both of them. I do think this is a signal more than anything else. I don't even necessarily know if it's about competition in that race. I think it's the signal moving forward that y'all need to behave. 100%
Well,
need to behave. Did Red Bull take it this way? No. Am I saying they should take it this way? No. Their job is to advocate for their driver at every point. May I suggest, by the way, that if you are going to do that, you need to do it in a form that's a little tidier than bringing out a bunch of photos, which is what Christian Horner did in bringing out diagrams. Jessica, how
yeah,
well would you react if somebody just started bringing that instead of talking to you about it? Or dare I say, PowerPoint it. Go ahead, PowerPoint it.
It's funny because I don't think Christian Horner even tried to defend the second Verstappen move. So
Nope.
there were 2 moves. So last week, Lando gets the 5-second penalty at the
Mhm.
USGP for leaving track and gaining an advantage, even though, as we know, Max Verstappen made him go off track and
Right.
also went off track, didn't finish his move on the track. So then in this race, 2 incidents on lap 10, turn 4, Lando's on the outside of the Red Bull. He left braking. He was ahead of the Red Bull. He approached the apex. They both ran deep. Lando cut across the grass at turn 5 and rejoined the track ahead of Carlos, but he gave the position back to Carlos. Verstappen gets 10 seconds for forcing him off track. And that was the one that Horner was like, look, Norris, there was no way he could have finished his move on the track because this is how fast he was going at this point in the race. It was like 15 kilometers faster than like during qualifying, or I don't even know which lap he was comparing it to, but he was trying to prove like there was no way he was going to stay on track. This move wasn't going to end up working for him anyways, so you should not give Max a penalty for this. And obviously the stewards are like, okay, I mean, maybe it's kind of hard to look at all of that data and know definitively because it's like, we saw what happened and we know they went off track, so we can't like know for sure. I feel like calculated move by Lando, maybe that's like stating the obvious. Like Lando kind of played it perfectly on this corner. To see like how the stewards would react this time. So they give Max the 10-second penalty on that one. But then there's another incident, which this one, like Horner, like I said, I don't think he even tried to defend it. This was this lap 10 turn 7 when Verstappen went inside of Norris and both of them went into the runoff. And that was the point where Charles Leclerc was like, don't mind if I do. Let me just squeeze right past you there.
Let me go ahead and take it.
Verstappen came out ahead of Norris, and then he got a 10-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage. Served both of them in his pit stop later on in the race, and ended up working his way back up to P6, I think is where he finished. So still like had a pretty good race and a good drive, but did what he came here for. Like, he was able to slow down Lando Norris enough to, battle with him. Didn't care about what the Ferraris were doing. Get them out of here. That's not who he's fighting for the championship. But slowed down Lando enough, took the penalties sort of in stride. Obviously, they disputed them, and Max is like, I do everything fairly. Don't mind me here. But he did his job, and I think Lando also kind of did his job by playing it perfectly so that it would happen again. He avoided the collision, obviously, which is super important for him. But was able to sort of let it play out again for the stewards, knowing that this time there was such a big deal made out of it last week that they would have to do something.
And on that note, I want to go ahead and point our attention to 2 quotes from Lando Norris post-race. 2. One that I think betrays a wisdom beyond his years and a clarity of understanding of the situation that we need to note. That Lando really has matured, because he said this: it's clear that it doesn't matter whether it matter if he wins or place the second, I guess. His only job is to beat me in the race, and he'll sacrifice himself to do that like he did today. Remember last week when we said crashing is an optimal strategy? We're so close to that. We are so very, very close to that, because this is essentially what Lando is saying, that the optimal strategy is to obstruct, because if he does that, Max just wins the championship handily, and there's not even a threat of Norris potentially doing that. Wisdom beyond his years. Credit to little Lando Norris. It is not all too much for him at this point. However, there's room to grow and understand what you're dealing with, because the next quote is, I hope Max acknowledges he took a step too far. That's not happening.
That is it's when you listen to Lando and Max talk about each other, they are still friends. They are still buddies. There is a sort of place where Lando hasn't taken it yet. We thought maybe after Austria, okay, this could be it. Friendship ended with Max, Oscar new friend, or whoever, I don't know, right. Carlos new friend. He is already friends with Carlos, but you know what I mean. But he's not taking it there. He also said that he really, respects Max as a driver, and wants him to sort of own up to, like you said, it's just not going to happen. Max, after the race, was this is just hard racing.
Just hard racing.
I'm just doing my job, and but also Spencer, to quote my favorite Lord of the Rings televised series on Amazon Prime, you can't fight strength with strength, and you have to fight strength with light. Lando can't do what Max is doing, because that's not the style that he drives in, and he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. Now, will Max get the benefit of the doubt for the rest of the season? More on that later, because there are going to be some sort of changes and acknowledged things from the drivers and also the stewards moving forward after the USGP. However, Lando has to just do what he did in this race, which is let Max sort of hang himself and hope that he does get punished for it, which is maybe a big ask, as we've seen this season, but
it's a big ask. This feels like 2 different argument styles. I don't know if you've been in any kind of relationship with somebody where your arguing styles are both mutually maddening to the other. For instance, I'm not going to fight after 9 p.m. I'm not. It's just not
yeah, this is bedtime.
No, that's
a
bedtime.
Good one.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
If you have a disagreement with me, please put it on the calendar for tomorrow morning.
Right.
Happy to do that after some coffee. Right. Lando has what we would call an avoidance strategy, where he would rather not run someone off the road and I think, by the way, this is intelligent, to draw the foul. Right. We are trying we're flopping, essentially. We are exaggerating for the ref. Flopping makes it sound bad, but it's really better than the alternative, which is we don't get to watch Lando and Max race, because if you put 2 Max Verstappens out there, they take
it's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. And like Lando has way more at stake if he doesn't finish a race
Correct.
than Max does, because Max still has the 47-point lead at this point in time with only 4 races to go and 2 sprint races, I believe. So like we're getting down to the wire a little bit. It's huge for Lando. He's able to finish in P2 after this race. Verstappen, obviously, like we said, like he ended up like saving, despite a 20-second penalty, like he ended up salvaging a lot of points from this race, which the more and more time goes on, the more you're like, what if Oscar didn't take the position back from Lando earlier this season? Or like, what if Lando did this or did that? But I really think like as we go down the wire here, like it's so razor thin that any mistake from Lando that costs him any points, whether it's from contact or a puncture or anything going wheel to wheel with Max, like he's got way more to lose. So yeah, he has to be sort of defensive and strategic with how he handles these situations. And I think as a fan too, like we want to see the wheel to wheel racing that doesn't involve one driver taking another driver off the track. We want to see this battle sort of play out over the span of multiple laps, because that's fun and like exciting. And so the style that Max is sort of driving under has been a little frustrating, where it's now we're leaving it to the stewards instead of just having this like multi-lap battle for position.
About that. So the worst person has made a great point. That's the FIA. In this case, we don't really like to hear from FIA. It's better to just watch the cars, shiny cars go fast, and happy, handsome drivers wave at you while they're celebrating. But occasionally the FIA prefers to rear its ugly head and remind everybody that they're relevant. They did so in a real stupid way by potentially talking with Charles Leclerc about his filthy language. And they did so in a way that they could not avoid, much like a driver not being able to avoid another driver plowing into them through a curve. The FIA is going to meet with drivers in Qatar, and they're going to revise racing lines guidelines after a meeting with drivers at Mexico City. And they are going to present revised standards for approval at Qatar, because the current rules are that if a driver is trying to overtake on the outside, then the driver trying to overtake only needs to be afforded the room exiting the corner if the front axle of the car is ahead of the inside car at the apex, right?
Yeah, that's like really
super clear, right?
Really clear.
Just so clear.
Yeah, there's like these overtaking guidelines, but then there's also like the normal F1 regular non-overtaking guidelines, which are like you can't cause a crash. And like there's been so many times where it's like, well, shouldn't those supersede the overtaking guidelines of one, like the driving erratic is something that you're not, like you can't go like 5 miles an hour down the track. That you'll get flagged for. You can't go like erratic and weaving around. You can't try to run someone off the road on purpose. But then it's like we're hyper fixated on these overtaking guidelines, understandably, but like is what Max is doing dangerous? Like Lando certainly thinks so.
I mean, what everyone's doing is dangerous because it's racing. So
facts, yes.
We'll just go ahead and bring Martin.
I'm going really hard on Max in this episode. I don't mean to.
We'll bring Martin Brundle into this and be like, well, it's all dangerous, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to go full Martin Brundle and be like, it should be more dangerous. No, I don't think that's true.
Never go full Brundle.
Never go full Brundle. What they are going to add is this: the caveat that if the driver defending ends up going off the track, they too should receive a penalty, which is very real. It's much like, here, I'm maintaining my racing line, which now just happens to extend all the way over to this curve. It's a legalism to include the possibility that maybe I'm shoving you. Maybe I'm in place and I'm still shoving you, which is Max's patented move at this point. Are they changing this rule just because of Max Verstappen? Yeah, that's why. That's the most physical driver out there. And it's a weird adjective when you describe drivers, but that's somebody who will use their car like a battering ram when they feel it serves their needs, not because they like it. I don't know Max would rather be racing, right? Actually, screw it. Max would rather be iRacing than doing any of this.
True.
But
and then you wouldn't have to deal with these petty decisions.
Right. This is 100% in response to that. According to George Russell, 19 of the 20 drivers are aligned on racing guideline changes.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly interesting that they waited till the end of the season for this when it seems like a current crisis and also has been an issue before this season even. This has been how Max drives for a long time. So I like how slow we're moving with this FIA. Solid stuff. The new guidelines I read in BBC might not even come into effect till 2025. So yeah, I mean,
When presumably Lewis Hamilton will be running Prada and Max Verstappen will be only sim racing, right?
Oh my gosh. That would be actually quite a twist if he just retired. If he wins this season, retires, and just becomes like a full-time
he just
sim
quit.
racer.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, I guess like we should say like one nice thing about Max. Like I don't want to feel like I'm dogging him too hard for all of this. Like he's doing what he feels like he needs to do to win a championship. And I think you can't fault him for that. Obviously you don't want it to be a situation where someone actually does get hurt because of the driving style, and so far that hasn't happened. But yeah, this is him trying to win a championship at all costs, whether he gets penalized or not. He's trying to slow down Lando Norris and not let him get all those big first place points.
Yeah. In I think happier news with Carlos Sainz's victory and with Charles Leclerc's performance, we have the second consecutive double podium for Ferrari. I'm just gonna say this. Let's first of all hands up in appreciation of everything. Who did
Spencer,
this? The Tifosi. Let's just go ahead. Let's shout it out. I don't care what you say about Ferrari. Okay, say everything you want about Ferrari. Say that is like the lamest, easiest intro to F1. Right? Say that they're the favorites of the sport. Say that they are the Dallas Cowboys of this sport, which was, I think, particularly accurate for a bit. However, I also say this: those people care. They show up. They're fun. They always have road flares. Remember, if you can find a friend in Formula One, make sure they have road flares and make sure they're the right color.
I say this in like a attempt to be sort of political. I hate when Sky cuts away from the Italian national anthem. Not because I'm like, I need to listen to this, but because I need to listen to the Ferrari guys sing it.
Because it's
magic.
Con gusto. It's like full-throated, extremely enthusiastic. Everybody knows the words.
It's great. It is so great. So yes, Charles had also a very good race. Obviously lost his position to Lando late there, but he had probably one of the funnier moments of the weekend, which happened in his post-race press conference. So we'll listen to that now.
I had one oversteer, and then when I recovered from that oversteer, I had an oversteer from the other side, and then I was like, fuck. But luckily, sorry, oh no. Oh no, I don't want to join Max.
Yeah, your wallet here.
So he's obviously referring to earlier this season. I was only maybe a month ago. Max Verstappen got reprimanded for swearing too much and was sentenced to like Formula One community service. So that was Charles realizing he said the bad F word and then realizing he would be sentenced also to community service potentially with his buddy Max.
Yes. Which quite the buddy comedy. Would love to see it. Just the two of them. I like
good scene in Drive to Survive. Netflix should get on that.
I would love it. I hope they do something adorable, like going and they have to like volunteer with like a kindergarten, right? Like just the two of them helping out a Monegasque kindergartner for the weekend. Or for the week. I would love to see that. This is, first of all, good things happening to Charles Leclerc. Absolutely love it. This is again, I think we had a moment where there could have been a sad Charles Leclerc in this race, and he managed to save the car. All for that, because when Charles Leclerc is sad, I am sad. All right. And I like him making happy music on the piano, not sad dirges. Second, more consistent Ferrari. Like Fred Vassar, whatever y'all are paying that man, okay? Whatever villas you are handing the keys over to in his name, give him more. Hand him a castle. I know you got one back there.
Old even-keeled Fred. He said he
Mhm.
had a great quote this weekend that was like, "We're having a good time flying under the radar because no one is really talking about the Ferrari." Obviously, the Lando versus Max headlines have sort of like taken up a lot of the oxygen in F1. But really, really good stuff from Ferrari lately, especially. And now they're what is it? 29 points behind McLaren. Wow, I just did some really fast math. 29 points behind McLaren in the constructors. They've sort of like sneakily, quietly crept up ahead of the Red Bull, who now has 512 points. Ferrari has 537 points. McLaren has 566 points in the constructors championship. So Fred was like, "We're flying under the radar, and so far, so good. Please don't pay attention to us. Let us just do this quietly. Don't make fun of us. We're gonna win some races because our car is actually really fast."
Yeah. Incredible pace, incredible performance, a consistency beyond, I think, even what we could have expected at this point. And sad that Carlos is coming in, but if one is a fan of looking forward, and I don't know, you're a race fan, your eyes should be at the front of the car, not the back of the car. Don't look in the mirrors, because ahead of you stands this: a Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton team with a car that presumably, building on the lessons of this one, should be better than the one they have now. So we shall see.
I feel like it was only like maybe 6 weeks ago on the show we were like, was it a mistake for Lewis to go to Ferrari? Like
Yeah.
around like mid-season, like the Mercedes had sort of like picked up the pace. But Ferrari had some upgrades. I can't remember which race it was, and has like been pretty solid down the stretch here. So that was definitely premature by us if we did indeed say that, which I think we might have.
Who
But
would say that? No.
I know, right? Formula One is just like a series of takes with new information and then more takes. But yeah, I don't know. Lewis and Charles in like an actual like legit car on one team. I think I sort of, when I found out Lewis was going to Ferrari, I was sort of like, I don't really know, like maybe that like from a brand perspective and like a merchandise and sales and famous red uniform and car situation. I'm like, I get it, but like I don't really know exactly how competitive that car might be this far from 2025. Now that we're going into the end of 2024, fair to say it should be pretty competitive, and having two like just excellent, I mean, world-class drivers on the same team. It could be a spicy meatball, Spencer, but it also could be kind of awesome.
You can say that, Jessica. I cannot as a metaphor. I'm going to go ahead. You've got that.
Well, I'm Italian.
Right.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
And I can do this too.
The spicy, that's trademarked. You can, that's allowed. That's IP that belongs to you by birthright.
My grandma she makes phenomenal meatballs. She makes great sausages, great Sunday gravy. Shout out to grandma. If anyone wants the recipe, hit me up. I have the recipe. You need neck bones for the gravy. Hard to find neck bones, but
Did not know that.
I found one Publix that has the right pork neck bones. Yeah, they're not easily found at the old butcher, Spencer, but as good of a weekend it was for Ferrari and also for Lando. Rough weekend for Max's teammate Sergio Perez in his home race. He was out of qualifying in Q1. Max Verstappen in the same car finished in second place in qualifying on Saturday. Then he had a sort of a tussle with Liam Lawson, who's like their sister teammate. And yeah, apparently he's only scored 7 points in 3 races, which I find I read that and I was like, what? That can't be right. But it is.
It is.
Really, really awful weekend. And then he got into a further tussle after the race with Liam Lawson.
And him saying this, him being Sergio Perez, regarding Liam Lawson, I think the way he's come into Formula One, I don't think he has the right attitude for it. He needs to be a bit more humble, I don't think he's showing the right attitude to show a good pace for himself, because I think he's a great driver, and I hope for him that he can step back and learn from it. Jessica, I did not that is not my takeaway from somebody flipping someone off mid-race. That my takeaway would be you have the correct attitude for Formula One.
Yeah, there was like a whole thing with them where Perez tried to overtake Lawson on lap 18, and the stewards investigated Perez for forcing another driver off track and leaving and taking an advantage. But they didn't end up giving him a penalty for it, which It's also weird because that also happened with Verstappen, but they only investigated him for one of those things.
Mhm.
Another situation where I'm like, maybe even if this is a makeup call with the FIA, the inconsistency and like, I'm confused. Like, I guess I don't understand the difference. But Perez lost the position at turn 6, didn't get penalized because he was initiating the overtake from the inside corner. And then that was when Liam Lawson flipped him the bird as he passed him down the main straight afterwards. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, flipping the bird, Spencer,
Mhm.
in your race car. How do we feel about that as a
I-
general concept?
I don't understand the entire notion that this is not demonstrative of a successful F1 driver, because there is such a long history of successful F1 drivers telling their fellow drivers they are number one with the most expressive finger on the human hand. Everyone has done this at one point or another.
We found like a great YouTube compilation, which we'll put credit up with this YouTube compilation as we watch it right now.
Mhm.
Just Formula One drivers giving
So
each other
first of
the
all,
middle finger.
fantastic theme music.
Great font. Like, what is this?
Yeah, if we could use our open rights, open source heavy metal music beside it.
Just and there
Yep.
it is.
Oh, there we go.
I love this. I love that fans have made compilations of bird flipping. It is like, it's like the only thing you can really do, because it's not like you could yell something. They're not going to hear you. You're very loud, although not as loud as it used to be.
Yeah,
Car
I mean,
is zooming by.
consider this. That first one you saw, the very first one you see, you say, this man does not have the proper attitude or humility to be a successful Formula One driver. That's Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher, maybe the number 2, maybe number 1 by some people's accounts, a top 5 F1 driver of all time. That's Michael Schumacher telling a driver that they are number 1. Others included in this video: David Coulthard, Kimi Räikkönen, Felipe Massa. All right.
I feel like it'd be weird if there was a race where Kimi didn't flip someone off.
Yeah.
That's just there's certain F1 drivers that have their hands like on the wheel, and they just have the middle fingers out.
Just driving like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Kimi Räikkönen was one of them. He was one of those guys who I would fine Michael Schumacher for doing this if I were F1. I would not fine Kimi Räikkönen, because for the same reason that you don't upbraid a dog that will never learn. It's just what's the point? What are you doing? Why are you yelling at them? Yeah.
I love this. Thank you, whoever made this video.
Yeah. The name of this user, by the way, who put together this outstanding compilation, Finland Rules, with 2 Z's on the end.
Oh,
From-
Valtteri?
From us to you, and for this Tony Hawk Pro Skater ass music, as producer Harry has called it. Thank you. Thank you for this outstanding compilation of middle fingers. Checo Perez, I love you. You're out of line. This is tradition.
Agreed. Before we go, we got a few more minutes left. Haas. 6th place in the constructors. They're 10 points ahead of Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda's team, whatever we're calling them this year. VCARB, RB, Honda, I don't know.
Sure. Red Bull.
Magnussen.
This is Timu Red Bull. Red Bull that you ordered off Shine. Yeah.
Magnussen finished in 7th, best finish since Bahrain 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Nico Hulkenberg finished in 8th, and this was his 8th race this year, scoring points. So, I mean, Haas right now ahead of several teams, Spencer, in the Constructors' Championship. Not bottom tier Haas. Points Haas, double points Haas.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing pretty good.
Let's keep this momentum moving. In K-Mag, I know that the Black Rage is going to overcome you on a lap, and you're going to want to hit somebody. Don't. The car's good enough to finish in the points. Hold back. I know it's what you love more than anything else, but don't be the enforcer, man. I know you want to be. I know you want. You're big, you're bad, you're tough, and your beard finally connects at the mustache, at the lips. Your beard finally connects, and we're very proud of you. But don't keep the car on the road, because it's pretty good.
Yeah, kind of bummed we're breaking this duo up for next year, because it's been an interesting little tandem this season.
Just raging Scandinavians.
We also had Fernando Alonso's 400th race in F1, and also Spencer, his first DNF of the season. Hey, that's the name of the show.
Hey, we brought it full circle. Germans aren't Scandinavians, by the way. There's only one Scandinavian on that
Yeah,
team.
it's
I
okay. We
forgot.
let it slide.
That's a lot, but remember, we love to cater to the pedantic. That's why we're here. I know. Overall, by the way, absolutely fantastic. Fantastic race. Mexico, I have no idea where it stands on the under properly or overrated scale, but in my mind, underrated. Like
I
my
think,
personal scale.
like from a racing standpoint, not like my favorite one, but from like a sightlines and layout and like atmosphere standpoint, like pretty fun.
That
I
cutout,
like it.
that cutout that
Yeah,
they take to the stands with the
I love that. Like
on
I
both?
genuinely, yes, it's great.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
read this week that they're trying to get an extension with F1 to remain on the schedule. I'm not sure. Obviously bummer if Perez isn't. There was some Perez gossip, drama, news, rumors this past weekend. We'll probably find out more of that next weekend. I'm guessing maybe there will be more info because I don't know. We still don't really know what his deal is with next year, but at Mexico City still wants to stay on the schedule, even if he is not in F1 anymore. They want to be part of F1. I think it's like generally a track that people like. I don't know.
Hey,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I know the press corps likes it because they all get to wear lucha masks and go to the temple of lucha libre wrestling, because that's what all of them were doing. If you follow Nate Saunders, he was there with a lucha mask in front row. So from a professional standpoint, I appreciate it. So I hope they keep it on the schedule.
And we'll be back next week after Brazil, the last of this triple header, going to Brazil. The drivers currently, Lewis Hamilton tweeted his Brazilian flag. He's in Brazil, one of his favorite places to race. And we'll be back to discuss next Tuesday. So like, subscribe, rate, review, tell your friends. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you after Interlagos. Próxima semana.
Go Carlos. Go Carlos.
Go Carlos.
So happy for you.